Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Darian Jones of Honor Kings and Sons TV podcast. I am so excited to be with you all once again. If you are a newcomer, please be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Honor Kings and Sons. That includes Facebook, YouTube, Threads, TikTok, and Instagram. I have two YouTube channels. One is at DJonesHKS. That is my YouTube channel. I put like entertainment stuff, a lot of funny clips and skits, things that just make you laugh throughout the day. And then my second YouTube channel is Honor Kings and Sons TV, where you will see clips of my podcast, audio clips of my podcast, and now I'm doing in-person clips. I'm uploading those every single week. So be sure to subscribe. A special shout out to all of my people who've been downloading my podcast recently. I'm still getting consistent flow from Germany. I checked the other day and I seen someone download it from Southeast Asia. I have more people in the States, and I think I have one person in Canada, like a small percentage. So I'm appreciative of all the people that have been tuning into my podcast as I'm dropping my episodes. Thank you so much, and continue to follow with me. And actually, you guys can, because I have my Discord up. So if you join my Discord link, which is in the description that I now put for every podcast episode, you'll be able to join my Discord link, and we can sit and talk about different issues, discuss some of the topics. And if you guys have topics that you want me to discuss in its entirety on my podcast, I'd be more than happy to do so. So that's what we have going on so far over on my end. So today I want to talk to you guys about the remote workforce and how it has changed the world. So I can tell you right now that being remote it has its pros, it has its cons, like anything. And I know that there are people listening in that you probably used to be in person, and now you either work from home or you're considered hybrid. These have been some drastic changes in the world. We know that this was birthed out of COVID, when it was pretty much, it's crazy because it's like, I don't know if anybody, is a fan of Avatar or like any type of show where they talk about like how everybody was one big village, and then a war broke out and everything split into villages. But that's pretty much like what the world was like. Everybody, for the most part, was in some form of unison when it came to like the workforce. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit and it split everybody up. The first thing they took was the essential workers. And we know that those people were getting, the most compensation. For the most part, I mean, it wasn't the best. On the news, every country, every city was receiving some type of incentive, some better than others. So when you look at what it's done now, a lot of those people who are essential workers, in some cases it's been a flip flop. A lot of them have experienced the bad side of the coin. During COVID, it was good for them. Now it's not so good. The people who stayed in person, a lot of them have moved on because, since COVID changed so many different things, a lot of people have decided that it's better for them to be remote so that they can be with their families. And then some people, they enjoy a few days in the office and they enjoy being able to, come in the building every now and then. So they're hybrid. So let's kind of get into, how all of this is now what it is. Like, we're not going back. There was a post that was made by Kevin O'Leary on LinkedIn, and he actually went on national TV talking about this because there were a lot of CEOs of companies that were going back and forth saying that no, COVID is over. They need to return back to the office. People are working less and less because they can slack off. They can, sit home and not have to give, full effort. And Kevin O'Leary was saying, he's like, no, he's like, as a matter of fact, it's going up in work productivity because who would want to give up this luxury? Who would want to give up the luxury of being at home? As a matter of fact, Kevin O'Leary himself, I follow him on LinkedIn. He has transformed his home. If you guys don't know who Kevin O'Leary is, $1 million, billion-dollar businessman from Canada. He's been on Shark Tank. He's been on so many different shows. He has openly shown how he's transformed his home. He's always putting up posts on LinkedIn. And if you just go on LinkedIn and type in his name, you will randomly see a post. He'll be in his kitchen. He's half dressed, suit, tie, jacket, and then the rest is basketball shorts and socks. He literally has added probably 4 or 5 professional cameras. He has all type of editors. I mean, he turned half his kitchen into a studio. The other half is a kitchen. Every video he's doing in basketball shorts. As a matter of fact, there was one week he didn't even dress up. He was dressing normal and still doing advertisements for companies and businesses. And if a millionaire could maximize on such a great opportunity, I think we need to really just take how we could really maximize on that as well for the people that's just working day to day, or people who really decide that they want to make a change, and they don't want to work day to day anymore. Maybe they want to start their own business, start their own non-for-profit, or they want to do some investing and let that return take care of them and their family. So things have changed. So like I said, if we step back into this, during COVID, it was crazy. Even how they came to the point of starting the first segmenting, or the first, I guess you would say, separation or classification, if you will, for the workforce. The essential workers, anybody that was in healthcare, law enforcement, firefighters, postal workers, public transportation, government officials, food and service industry. You had a lot of those people that, those were considered the essential workers, because every single day those were, the majority of things that people, were rushing to get their goods and services from. Right. But there were a lot of things, like if you owned a gym, right? A lot of gyms closed down, or they had to cut the staff and the amount of people in half. There were, if you owned a clinic, right, you only could probably take, not that many people per day. If you had a staff of 7, you had to cut down to like a staff of 3. A lot of mom and pop shops were getting hit with a lot of regulations and violations because they had too many people, or they were letting too many people in. I remember getting food during COVID, and literally they would say card only, cash only. And literally the worker will walk to the window, ask you for what you want. You had to slip your card through. They'll come back and give you a receipt, and then you had to wait, outside 10, 15 minutes with the ticket. They call the ticket number, you get your food, and you leave. I remember while I was still a school teacher, we had, oh man, this was crazy. So school was changed drastically when it came to COVID. I mean, I can spend hours on how that was crazy. But one particular instance, we were doing our trunk or treat at the school I was working at. And so usually with the trunk or treat, all the cars, come through, and the kids can get out the car and they can grab as much candy as they want and then get back in. But that was not the case with this trunk or treat. You pulled in, and then the teachers would bring the candies to you. The kids stuck their hand out, put the candy in, and then the parents had to keep driving. As a matter of fact, when we did our Christmas event, it was the same thing. It was a drive-through event. And so these were some of the things that just changed the structure of the world. A lot of people felt like it became harder economically as a result of the pandemic, because how do you pay somebody if, the CDC and WHO are saying that, hey, listen, X amount of people can be in the building, and, the other people have to work from home. They tried the same structure in the school system. The first year of COVID, everything was online. That was an atrocity. I will save that story for another time. But when they did the second year, which was 2020 going into 2021, and they brought the kids in, I remember they did a 30 60 and 70%. So 30% came in the first 3 months, then 60% towards the end of the year, and then 70% after January. Not after January. I think after February. And then by that time, they had said, you know what, it's okay. Everybody can go back normal. But they gave people the option if they wanted to work from home and go to school from home. And, that took place. So we had just so many different changes that was happening. One of the things that was so intense was when people realized that their pay was now going to become inconsistent. They were going to fall behind on their bills, fall behind on their insurance, fall behind on just everything that they were doing. A lot of people's savings were had to be they had to go into their emergency savings earlier than usual, which was unfortunate. And one of the most sad things I experienced, and this is my time as a school teacher, unfortunately, a lot of people were terminated. You would hear a lot of they've been laid off indefinitely, but I was getting the 411 because as a school teacher, my students entrusted me, and every day, literally, you would hear suspended indefinitely, but then within a week, you heard that the parents were terminated. It was insane. The unfortunate losses that a lot of families were experiencing at that time. So now what began to happen was people say, you know what, before they even fire me, I'm just going to leave. And this is where the great exodus in the workforce took place. I can tell you 5 years from now, when they print the new history books, if this is not, well, it should be in the history books now, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But when they print textbooks 5 years from now, if they don't have the great exodus within the economic world workforce, if they don't have that as a chapter or unit in all history textbooks, then just know that it's the end, because it should be stuff that students should be able to read about and talk about, and especially share their experiences, because it was disheartening. But what took place out of that was so beautiful, because many, many people who had careers, it could have been in healthcare, real estate, financial industry, education circuit. There were so many people who were able to take a chance on themselves and turn it around for the better. We called it the Great Resignation. In 2020, there was already, reports going out about how the school systems all across the country, mainly the United States, they were already on low enrollment for students in a lot of schools. There was low retention. There was low teacher retention because there were a lot of new teachers. We're talking young teachers under 30 years old, and a lot of them would not stay at a school longer than 2-3 years. And then we had teachers 45 and older. A lot of those teachers did not want to come back to the school system because, as a former educator, I will boldly say it was like we were being fed to the wolves. Because a lot of schools were in debt, which is stuff they don't put on the news a lot. And a lot of schools did not have the means to support their demographics. And it doesn't matter if it was public, private, or charter. A lot of schools did not have the support needed to support the demographic of students. So you may have an all-white school, but then in the last 15, 20 years, they were moving in Hispanic kids. And a lot of times there were no support for that demographic. Or you had a predominantly black school that was moving in Hispanic and white kids, and the culture shock changed, the environment shifted, and there was no support to deal with that. And so if there was anything, there was disorderly conduct, there was violence, there was, things that was happening in the schools that they could not maintain, the school systems had to choose enrollment, they had to choose their graduation rate, they had to choose their funding over the protection and support of their teachers. So, after a while, a lot of people just said they were not returning, and it spilled over even in COVID. As a matter of fact, the Great Resignation blew up during COVID. I think within 2020, there was some cases where 40% of teachers in any random state, were putting up for resignation. As a matter of fact, I remember as an instructor in COVID, uh, within the first 3 months, we had a lot of instructors who were virtual. And I'm not talking about teachers who were in person and they opted out and said, hey, I don't want to be in the building because I don't want to get COVID from a student. We had brand new teachers, never taught before, that came in as virtual instructors. And in some cases, it had to stay that way because a lot of teachers refused to come in the building, or a lot of teachers had simply left the profession. So this is me giving you eyewitness account of what was going on. So I can only imagine what was going on in different industries in the world with the birth of the remote workforce. It gave people the opportunity to really, say, man, this is the opportunity to take control of my time. This is the opportunity to take control of my future. And if you check my previous clip, when I talked about my previous episode, when I tell my story about being an entrepreneur and the story of the entrepreneur, I tell you that it was really amazing to find out that people within 6 to 18 months of resigning from their career, it could have been education, insurance, like I said, it could have been any industry, that people were becoming millionaires overnight. I can't tell you how many former educators cleaned out their garage and turned their garage into little schools. I can't tell you how many, finance majors turned their education into online courses. I can't tell you how many people who had the skill to cook. They went out on faith. They spent $2,000 on a food truck, and now they make God knows how much money every weekend. What took place during this time, I think people will never forget in terms of the good, the bad, the ugly, but definitely for the people who made it, I think that this will be something that they will always be thankful for. And I think that we need to find that this new wave of styles or settings for employment is really a gateway for a lot of people to get their lives back. I could do a documentary on the psychological standpoint that every human being went under during COVID. I don't even think any of us need to talk about it. It was clear cut. People had to go back in their house with family members they didn't talk to every single day, with spouses that they didn't necessarily have any form of intimacy at all because of the work schedules. They had to deal with unresolved issues, and the list goes on and on and on, right? And for many people, they'd seize that opportunity to transform their family dynamic. For others, it was a ticking time bomb, and it just boils down to how you look at it. It boils down to what is in your heart. It boils down to how you see yourself and how you see your life, that you could take the opportunity of something like this and do something great with it. The remote workforce now, even though it's 2024, so technically COVID was almost 4 going on 5 years ago. It happened that fast. It's like it's drifted away from us, even though it still feels like it's here. But now more so, people are still finding the opportunity to capitalize off of this workforce. See, we talked about remote, which means that you could do your work from home. Some people were home on laptops. They'll be doing their job on their laptop, running their business on their cell phone. There'll be some people at home day trading while they're in their meeting with their boss. Funny thing, it's so crazy that the heart of man, it doesn't matter what situation on planet Earth, will still find something wicked to do. I'm pretty sure if it happened in my educational sector, it happened in some other industry. There were instances where teachers were upset about who was working remote and who wasn't. And we had teachers that were snitching They were going around. I can't even call it snitching. They were going around investigating who was working from home and who wasn't. And there were teachers trying to, plant traps for their coworkers so that their coworkers can lose their job. Like, it was the craziest stuff. I remember seeing on the news a lady tracked her coworker. She claimed that she saw her coworker leave from the gym to the grocery store. Like, are you serious? The world is in an economic uproar, and you took your time out of your day, your freedom that you have to go stalk somebody. It was crazy. And this was on the news. I'm not making this up. You can go and type on YouTube. These were stories and cases. And I know if this was happening amongst teachers, I know it was happening amongst other industries. So like I said, people are going to do what people are going to do with opportunities. I know I didn't waste my time checking for nobody. It was crazy. And so I think that, now that we look at what is in front of us, this remote workforce is still a great opportunity. There are some people who was building companies. I mean, like, they were building real deal companies. There was a kid the other day. He's blown up on social media. He was going to school from home. He built a cybersecurity company in 1 year, and he became a millionaire the following year. He just turned 23. These are things that are happening as a result of being able to have some type of a job that keeps you at home, and then you have all this time. Like, you literally are in one window doing what you need to do for your job, whatever job it is, whatever industry, and in the other window, you're sitting with your business partners thinking about how you're going to close this $500,000, $200,000, $1 million deal, or how you're going to get this marketing campaign off the ground to get your brand going. It's still fresh, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a person that your career really wasn't affected by COVID, because there were some careers that literally were not affected by COVID, they were able to carry on. You may have decided that you want to change from that career. Well, guess what? The remote workforce has set it up perfect for you. Like I said, if there's some people who worked hybrid, they selected to do some days in the office and some days from home. There was even an opportunity that came across where I could have had that opportunity. I could have taken the job and been at home a few days and then be out a few days. So it just depends on your situation. It depends on, your family structure, where your family wants to go, your dynamic, what it is that you guys want to achieve. It depends on what you want to do. That would determine how this will work for you. But I can guarantee you now, in today's economy, this remote workforce can work for everybody. Social media influencers were blowing up. I mean, you had those who were working their job while they were building their success. You had some that were doing that, but a lot of them, especially ones that I watched their interviews, I visited their accounts. You have a lot of them that was like, I quit my job and I switched to working from home. I got some little thing where I did a few hours a day, and then I just built my account, built my brand. So ask yourself, you might be working McDonald's, Walmart. It could be whatever job you're working, or if you're working a high-end job, right? You're an engineer or you're a financial accountant, right? And you want to make a change. It's still fresh. This new work structure is still fresh. Business profits are going through the roof. Construction is still happening. New ideas are still being birthed. It's a time like never before for people to take advantage. And I would really say, for those of you that remote work just doesn't work for you, you really feel like, you're too distracted at home, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I actually had somebody in a conversation come with a rebuttal saying, "Hey, but what if remote work is not for everybody?" I'm like, well, we have to understand something here, that it doesn't matter what happens on planet Earth, right? We are responsible for our flaws, our tendencies, our strengths, our weaknesses, right? So it can be anything, any one of those factors that come into play that expose our capabilities. We are responsible for knowing what we can and cannot do. And so, if a person, they know that, hey, listen, I love my bed. When I come in my house, I want to sleep. I don't want to walk around with clothes on and be in front of cameras. I want to be free, right? So, hey, remote work may not be for you because, it'll be a situation where if you try it out, next thing you know, you're getting terminated. So, of course, guys, you maintain your responsibility and you make the best decision for you. But for those who still have not, they haven't been convinced enough to cross over, I'm telling you, this window is wide open. Sit down with your spouse, sit down with your significant other, sit down with those you care about, even your children, and have that conversation if you already haven't, because this might just be one of the best decisions you'll make to be a part of this remote workforce. It's growing every single day. I can tell you that. I know for sure. I know for sure within from 2020 to 2021, we had at least up to 10 million people who were in the workforce shift to remote. And I know for sure it's probably gone up 40, if not 50%. I know for sure. The if you go on any job sites, the remote postings are larger than ever. And here's the crazy thing about the remote workforce, which I didn't say yet, but I'm gonna say now: the salary. The salary is higher than in person simply because of one factor. The field is brand new. One of the industries that I was introduced to right after COVID was the industry of tech sales, right? And of course, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm not a techie guy. I just know basic. I know how to work a phone, a laptop. I know social media. I'm not like a developer and all." And it's one of those things where it's like it's not that, right? It's just simply the industry where you learn how to sell software and services to people using the art of sales. That's just all that it is. It's a new industry. And so this industry had been in existence as far back as 2016, 2017. I think one article source I read was as far back as 2015, but the marketing and the push was not so big at that time because it was something that people needed to see the long term. What really blew it open was COVID. When COVID happened in 2020, there was a massive influx of people coming into tech sales. A massive influx. Why? Because if you were taking a training course to learn about how to sell tech, right, you had to set aside time. So if you worked an 8-hour shift, you come home, let's say you got kids, you take care of your kids, you clean up your house, you bathe, you do all that. Now you got 45 minutes you got to devote to this course because you have to get up to go back to work. So now that everybody's home, that 7-week course, so that 3-month course, people were crushing that in 2-3 weeks because they're just home all day, right? They're home all day. And especially if they stop getting paid from their job. Why? Because they were let go indefinitely or because they don't know if they're going to return back to the office. These are the things that were taking place. So now this is where we are, where people were able to crush these courses. And then guess what? They got access to the salary once they broke into tech. And it's been a huge, huge thing. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and this is just from my observation and how I'm seeing the industry grow now. Because the influx is so high, what they're doing now is they're offering more positions and they're just shrinking the salary cap. So a person who was making 80, 90K back in 2017, a person coming in now will probably be making 50, 60K, maybe 65K, right? So you're still making more than any job you would be working in person, but you wouldn't know that now your salary cap is less. But I mean, come on now, unless you're a person that's greedy and oblivious to the fact that this is a great opportunity, I would still take it because you're home. And some of these companies, they send you the equipment that you need in order to do so. And that's another thing with the remote workforce is that companies have realized that if they can supply the same setup and service and tools that would have been in person, they could supply that to their worker at home. It's a win-win. A lot of companies will send you a laptop. They'll send you whatever cables you need. They'll send you the headset. There's some companies, they send you a work phone, and it's simple. You sign the forms, whatever need be, and if you are terminated or if you leave, you just send the stuff right back, and it's as simple as that. So, like I said, this is a time that people could really take and maximize, and it's not easy. I'll tell you that. If you're looking for a lot of these jobs, because they were taking people a lot when COVID was hot. Now that things have calmed down, a lot of them are putting that same standard that would have been in person. They're putting that now on these remote jobs because, of course, just like in person, there can be a high turnover rate with people who work remote. If a person is working a remote job making 50K and they find a new job that's 65K and it gives them more leisure time or whatever, of course they're going to switch to that job. So they've made it a little bit more challenging to secure, but I mean, that's what us human beings do. We rise to the occasion and we get what we need. So these are just some things I want to be able to share with you guys so that you are aware of what's going on in the remote workforce. And I'm going to tell you, like I said, if you're a person, you're in school, you want that time, you want to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to work this job. It's a 7-hour shift, right? But I'm home. So I don't have to worry about spending money on gas. I don't have to worry about, spending the $50 I was spending every single week buying lunch. I don't have to worry about that. It's a huge money saver working from home. You spend less on gas, let's say that you have kids, your kids want to go out somewhere. That gas you would have spent at work, you can take them to the park, right? So you're subsidizing your costs. Definitely, the grocery store, right? You'll be surprised. The grocery store, depending on how your family is set up, right? You may have to go a little bit more because everybody's home, so everybody's eating up everything, right? But at least it's not as crazy as you guys like, oh, we're out, everybody's tired, let's order pizza every single night. You get what I'm saying? So these are just things that when you sit down and you talk amongst your spouse, your family, or whatever, that you make that necessary adjustment in your budget and find out what you can save on and find out what you can maybe even pay off faster as a result of not using such and such services. And it really works. It really works. I encourage a lot of college students definitely look for remote work. We know work study programs is their work study programs have been a major asset for college students for so long. But definitely, if you can find remote work, I mean, I just think it's better, especially for those kids who go to school online. They're in their home state, but they, might go to online university in Arizona or something like that. Being able to sign out of your class, take a nap for 3 hours, wake up, sign into your job, it saves a lot. It saves a lot. But yes, I definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts on this, and I want to know what has the remote workforce been like, in other countries. That's what I'm interested, because you can read articles and get the percentages and stuff like that. But I want to be able to hear from somebody who hits the ground running. They're out and about, or, in their country, they're very involved in the news and the economy. I want to be able to know how the remote workforce has helped, has hurt, or has just, still have people trying to figure out the best decision to move forward in terms of just their economic standpoint. I definitely want to hear from you guys. Please make sure that you click the link and join my Discord and be able to follow me on all social media platforms. Just type in at Honor Kings and Sons and you will definitely see Darian Jones, whether it be on Facebook, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. So that's all my time for today. Appreciate you guys so much. You have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you soon. Be easy.